Back in 1993, way before the days of the current anime fandom, Japanese anime studio APPP created their own adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a series of OVAs based off of the plot of Stardust Crusaders. And I'm gonna be real, it was pretty good. This was the only actual anime adaptation of JoJo media, barring some promotional commercials, until the modern anime adaptation by David Production, which would go on to start later in 2012. But did you know that there were actually plans to bring the origins of JoJo to the silver screen far before that of the television screen? Yep, it's true. After fully completing their strangely selective Stardust Crusaders adaptation, Studio APPP set their eyes on the earliest part of JoJo history, Part 1 Phantom Blood. You see, because they had capitalized on the crown jewel of JoJo only a year after its manga run had ended, transitioning into Part 4, they had been seeing some massive success with their OVAs. And that was an encouraging sign that perhaps they could keep the gravy train flowing if they dug into Araki's crazy well a little deeper. And so, in 2007, the Phantom Blood movie was born. Produced as a part of a commemoration for Araki's 25th year of creating manga, it was given a limited Japanese theatrical release starting on February 17th of 2007. Co-produced by Bandai, production took around 3 whole years, and even featured an original theme song titled Voodoo Kingdom, written by the band Sold Out. You may even recognize the band's MC, Diggy Mo, as the singer of the popular third ending song to the original Soul Eater anime, Bakusou Yumeta. In an interesting case, this Soul Eater track, as well as other music produced by Sold Out, would later go on to be reused in popular fan-made JoJo MAD projects that have made the rounds online. To clarify for those unaware, MAD videos are similar to that of AMVs, but instead of using anime as an editing source, MADs instead usually use multimedia content, like manga and other things. Typically, MADs are more so made by Japanese fans and generally originate from the Japanese website Nico Nico Doga. This series of JoJo MADs I'm showcasing here were actually some of the stuff that got me into reading the manga. They're insanely well edited, and I've seen them reposted and shared around a lot, so they're pretty easy to find with a simple YouTube search. What's not so easy to find, however, is the Phantom Blood movie. Yeah, sorry, I got a bit off track there, but hey, we found our way back around. So yeah, the film. You see, despite the monumental amount of work put into the Phantom Blood movie, with production materials and advertisements still littering the annals of web history, if you go digging, the film itself was never released officially or unofficially after its initial run in Japanese theaters. It never even hit home video, and the circumstances surrounding this gap in animated JoJo history are frightfully vague, effectively making it lost media. Void Century looking ass. There is a surprisingly scarce amount of footage of this thing available online, even this many years later. There is one major notable instance where people stumbled across some footage, but even then it wasn't much. An actual work print of the film's first 16 minutes was used as course material for a sound design project at the Academy of Art University at some point in time, and was provided to the class by the film's composer. This work print only featured music and no voice acting. This was because, as I said, it had been used for educational purposes, with the students having to add their own sound design as a class project. The reason that we even know about this is that one student who is a part of the class had uploaded their completed assignment to YouTube in 2012, making this the first glimpse of the film that people have had since its theatrical release. Since then, we've gotten a couple of sporadic pieces of footage that have leaked online over the years in form of short clips and trailers, but that's really been it. Despite our inability to watch the film, however, many of its differences when compared to its source material have thankfully been thoroughly documented. And honestly, they're interesting, to say the least. So, for the sake of being thorough, let's go over them in short order. Dio's inner monologue is never shown, so his motives for bullying Jonathan are never clearly conveyed to the audience. The boxing match between Jonathan and Dio, their shared rugby game, and Jonathan's first encounter with his sweetheart, Irina Pendleton, are all omitted. 2 extra scenes are added, one where Dio steps on Jonathan's necklace from Arena, and another where Jonathan hurts himself on a needle Dio places in his bed. There's also a weird bit of added dialogue where Dio asks Arena if she's done it with Jonathan yet. Doing it obviously being a euphemism for, well,
sex! What? Sex! Ah!
So yeah, let's move on. The concept of Hamon is not really explained, and is instead just treated as fighting energy to level up Jonathan's punches. Not much else is really explained further. Okay, now I'm gonna need you to be sitting down for this next one because it's devastating. The entire character of Robert E.O. Speedwagon is omitted. That's right, our boy Speedweed is completely absent from the plot. Literal revisionist history in motion. Now, to clarify, this isn't to say that he's removed from the movie entirely. He actually still seems to appear in the Ogre Street scene to fight Jonathan, as this scene was shown off in one of the trailers in a very, very brief clip. But apparently, outside of this scene, dude is just kinda gone. He's not really a part of the main story, and that sucks. Honestly, with that in mind, I can totally understand why this is lost media, because who the fuck cares? Bring us the beefcake or don't fucking show up. Jonathan's fight with Jack the Ripper is omitted. Dio uses his vampire powers to somehow transform his hideout in Wind Knight's lot into a giant castle. Okay then. Dio does not show up to the graveyard to instruct Bruford and Tarkus. The scene where Bruford gives his sword to Jonathan and names it Luck and then Pluck is omitted. While the character of Tonpetty still appears, Poco, Dyer, and Straitso are all absent. Given Straitso's importance later on in Part 2 alongside Speedwagon, it's unclear how they would have handled a Battle Tendency adaptation if that ever came to be. Tonpetty's flashback with Zeppeli now takes place on a cliff, not a tightrope over the Tibetan temple. When Tonpetty reads Zeppeli's future, it causes a shockwave that blows away the clouds. The scene where Jonathan and Zeppeli clash with Dio under the moon takes place after the fights with the Dark Knights instead of before, and is instead now near Dio's castle. The famous "How many breads have you eaten in your entire life" line is omitted. Zeppeli is killed similarly to how Dyer is killed in the manga, and by Dio instead of Tarkus. Zeppeli's hair does not change color when he gives his energy to Jonathan. Jonathan does not light his gloves on fire to fight Dio's freezing technique, but rather powers up to win. The ship that Jonathan and Arena board at the end of the part sails through the Pacific Ocean instead of the Atlantic Ocean, but despite this, Arena is still somehow rescued near the Canary Islands. The baby, Elizabeth, is omitted from the movie, and Arena also enters the coffin without Jonathan saying a single word to persuade her. This omission would have also greatly impacted the story of Battle Tendency if it were ever adapted by the same team. And that pretty much wraps up all the major differences between the film and the manga. I know I said my piece on it earlier, but despite Speedwagon's absence from the movie, the characters of Dario and Wang Chan respectively were actually played by a comedy duo named Speedwagon, composed of Jun Edota and Kazuhiro Ozawa. So in a way, I guess indirectly, Speedwagon is at least referenced in some small fashion. And you know, that's great and all, but this production is still on thin fucking ice. Also, I had no place to bring this up during my talk, so I figure I could just bring it up here. I think the poster for the film has a bit of an error. The pose that Jonathan strikes besides Dio here is actually modeled after one of Joseph's poses from Battle Tendency, and I'm unsure why. Specifically, it's the pose present on the cover of the manga's 8th volume. I don't really know if this was done on purpose or not, but it could easily be a mistake given that Jonathan and Joseph are the most similar looking JoJos design-wise. And I'll be honest, I also made the mistake of mixing the two up once or twice. Due to the very nature and history of this film, it's possible that it might never fully resurface. However, that hasn't stopped people from continuing the search and even attempting to partially reconstruct it based on footage that has already appeared online. I found this project while I was searching for footage for this section. A couple of years ago, I even tried my hand at doing some English voiceover for one of the leaked scenes. Since a majority of the currently released footage doesn't contain any voice acting and we don't have any semblance of a script, I tried to make my own by referencing both the manga and the modern anime for dialogue. If you want to check it out for whatever reason, you can still pretty easily find it on my channel, but I'll also have it linked properly in the description. My voice acting has definitely aged a bit on this video, but I'm still pretty proud of what I was able to do at the time, especially when coming up with dialogue to match the animation.
Hey! Hey! What was that for? Danny!
Many rumors have circulated about this movie since its tumultuous history was properly documented, with many claiming that the reason it was never released to home video was because Araki himself hated the film. However, no evidence of such a thing being the case actually exists, and it's largely believed to simply be a rumor and nothing more. Whether we will ever get to see the Phantom Blood movie resurface in the future is one of the Jojo community's greatest mysteries, and for now, it remains unsolved. I have always wanted to say that, oh my god. Hey, if you like this video and you want to see more, it's actually just a smaller part of a much larger trivia series that I've been hosting on my main channel. So if you want to see me talk about more JoJo content and be an absolute clown, check out the link at the top of the description for the full playlist.